Howdy, 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 my name's Anashi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we got to read about Mr. Fish, and Joseph the Half-Cat, and Carl the Variable Dog, and the other two things. In this one, we're going to start with paired brass guard cats, and then go into Frostbug, Snake Necklace, Misplaced Blood, and Communicative Beaker. So we got a few more animals, sort of, and let's check out those cats, and see if they're actually made of brass. Yep. Safe though. SCP-531 statues are effectively harmless when kept facing each other. When not being studied, they are stored in matched pairs in the medium security facility blank, placed in wall alcoves on opposite sides along a marble-lined hallway in an arrangement that approximates the circumstances where the original pair was found. The alcoves have sliding doors that can be closed via remote control to make it easier to approach them for maintenance or experimentation, or on those occasions when there are an odd number of statues in inventory. There are currently 14 statues in inventory, numbered 1 through 14, obviously. If it is anticipated that the Foundation will have an odd number of 531 statues in inventory for an extended period of time, i.e. it is not a temporary condition resulting from an in-progress test, a D-Class personnel should be assigned to ensure that all statues have a partner. It is better to do this in a controlled manner than risk an accidental exposure. Before I continue, I just want to say that what that sounds like to me is if there's one cat in the hallway and instead of two, someone walks past, sees the cat, turns into a cat, lands across the hall. Now let's see what it actually does. SCP-531 consists of several paired sets of brass statuettes depicting stylized felines. Look at them. The cats are in a seated posture, looking forward with ears raised in what is usually described as an attentive expression. Each cat is 74.2 centimeters tall and is solid metal weighing 451.7 kilograms. Their eyes are inset with what appears to be polished tiger eye stones that give an impression of luminescence, though they do not directly emit visible light. The original pair of these statues was found by an archaeological expedition in a tomb near blankety-blank Egypt that dated to approximately blank BC. The outer chamber of the tomb had been thoroughly looted in antiquity. The two 531 statues were located in the passage leading to the inner chamber, and alcoves 54 centimeters above the floor on either side of the passage and facing each other across it. Although the passage was open, no looting had occurred beyond this point. The expedition's members experienced an extreme aversion to passing in between the two statues, and it is speculated that this psychological barrier is what protected the inner chamber from prior looters. The expedition team managed to overcome this barrier through data-expunged means and proceeded to retrieve the tomb's artifacts. No other SCP items were among them, but they were later impounded at a Foundation facility anyway, see Annex 531-B. The last items to be retrieved were 531 themselves. One of the two statues was hoisted down from its alcove and crated for transport, with the plan being to crate the second one the next day. At some point during the night, Redacted went missing, and a new replacement statue was found occupying the vacated alcove. The expedition decided to reseal the tomb with these two statues remaining in their alcoves. The statue they had placed in a crate was taken with them to the Blank Institute, where another individual went missing and another new statue was found in storage paired with the original. It was at this point that the Foundation staff retrieved both pairs of statues along with the other artifacts from the tomb. Note, due to sloppy record keeping by Redacted, who was lost during early testing of 531's properties, it is not known which two of the four statues impounded by the Foundation at that point were the originals. Properties. When a pair of two 531 statues are facing each other, they produce a powerful suggestive effect preventing anyone passing between them. This is a psychological effect. No measurable physical force is generated. It is conjectured that this is the primary function of the statues, and in and of itself this effect is harmless. If the line of sight between the two statues is broken, a more dangerous aspect of 531's effects manifests itself. Observers will be drawn to meet the gaze of one of the orphaned statues themselves. Once the gaze is met by an observer, he is unable to break eye contact without an effort of will beyond the capability of most people. The trapped individual will feel a mental pressure forcing him to crouch down so that his eyes are level with the statues. After several minutes in this pose, the subject's body begins to slowly stiffen and become heavier as a transmutation effect takes hold, converting the subject into a duplicate 531 over the course of approximately 1 hour. Called it! The subject remains aware throughout the process but will remain unable to break the statue's gaze. Once the physical transmutation has begun, there is no known way to halt or reverse it. The duplicate is an exact copy and produces the same effects as the original statues. It is unclear whether this duplicative effect was intended by whatever agency created the original 531s, or if it is a side effect of the powerful link between the two statues. For the most recent round of experiment logs, see experiment log 531. If anybody actually wants to see that, I'll go back to it in a different SCP Saturday. Just let me know. Now, 531BB. Proposed use of 531 for containment of other SCP items. It is proposed that 531 statues could be used as a part of Foundation's security and containment measures. They could theoretically constrain the movement of sapient SCPs that physical barriers are ineffective against. Figure 531BB1 shows one hypothetical example of an arrangement of 10 531 statues that should create a pentagonal cage approximately 6 meters in diameter that any entity affected by 531 will be unable to exit. This has not yet been tested in practice. A hexagonal arrangement is also possible, but the experimentally determined critical viewing angle leaves very little margin of error in this case. Figure BB2 depicts a segment of fence of arbitrary length using the same angles as the pentagonal cage. A feature of this proposed design is that the 531 units are mounted on platforms that can rotate 36 degrees, triggered simultaneously along the entire length of the fence. Triggering the rotation should cause all of the units to simultaneously switch partners to the unit immediately beside them, opening the entire perimeter. A fence with this design will require one 531 unit for every 1.5 meters of length, using a maximum unit-to-unit distance of 5 meters. This same mechanism of rotating units can also be used with the pentagonal cage described previously. Figure BB3 shows a switchable gate arrangement utilizing a 90-degree rotation of 4 531 units. Alternately, a single pair of 531 units could be used with retractable opaque barriers over the alcoves, much as is used in containment when individual units are removed from storage for testing. This alternative leaves the 531s unpaired while the gate is open, however, which may prove to be a hazardous situation during long-term use. So, Figure 1, pentagram. Figure 2, switchable fence. Figure 3, switchable gate. Interesting. So, next up is the frost bug. Oh. Okay then. I guess this is gonna be a Keter episode. Let me drink some water first. Standard biohazard containment procedures are to be followed for all research samples of SCP-532. Samples are to be kept at constant temperature of -8 degrees Celsius. Any personnel encountering instances of 532 outside of Foundation custody are to evacuate all outdoor areas immediately and contact Dr. Blank. SCP-532 is a pathogenic bacteria most similar in composition to Pseudomonas orzahabitans. SCP-532 shows an increased tolerance for low temperatures, showing peak reproductive rates at -25 degrees Celsius. The full tolerance range of 532 is approximately -52 to -5. Furthermore, 532 shows several mechanisms in order to cope with high temperatures. Several small flagella line the cell membrane, allowing 532 to be carried by air currents into the upper stratosphere and lower mesosphere. Due to a lack of energy source, 532 will enter into a state of hibernation for an indefinite amount of time while in the atmosphere. 532 will leave its hibernating state once it detects warm air currents coming from the troposphere. It will then retract several of its flagella and descend into the troposphere. The heat provided by the troposphere generally causes several instances of 532 to turn into a clump, similar in view to a snowflake. If the heat provided by the troposphere is above 0 degrees Celsius, it will typically die before reaching the Earth's surface. Instances of 532 reaching any inorganic material or a non-exothermic organism will spread their flagella and be carried by air currents back into the upper stratosphere. SCP-532 is coated in a chemical that reacts with the lipids of an exothermic organism's cell membranes to create an endothermic reaction. This simultaneously kills nearby tissue and provides a suitable temperature for 532 to reproduce. Victims of 532 describe this in a manner similar to the cold felt when a snowflake makes contact with human skin. It shows a tendency to break down and ingest the dermis and will not enter the body until the surrounding dermis has been covered. 532 will then enter the bloodstream, causing major damage to the circulatory system due to the freezing and subsequent crystallization of water molecules. Typically, the victim will die of blood loss. Following the death of a host victim, 532 will migrate back into the upper stratosphere. SCP-532 shows a 98% mortality rate if left untreated, 100% if it is caught on the tongue. Treatment of victims of 532 may be conducted through exposure to water heated to 27 degrees Celsius or more. However, this results in massive tissue damage to affected areas. Extreme cases of 532 infection may require amputation of affected limbs. Initial infection of 532, note the similarities to frostbite. Next up is the snake necklace, which is safe. SCP-533 is to be kept around the neck of a display dummy in room 12B at the blank 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 storage facility. The dummy itself needs no special properties, but it must be kept in a glass case with glass breakage sensors on each face. The case itself must rest on a scale. A computer is to monitor the breakage sensors and the scale at all times. If at any time the glass breaks or the weight of the case exceeds blank kilograms, then Procedure 533-1 must be executed immediately. SCP-533 is a necklace, usually approximately 54 centimeters in length and 3 centimeters in width. While the necklace has been under Foundation observation, the length has varied between 51 and blank centimeters during the data expunged. The mass of the necklace varies between 804 grams and blank kilograms, but is typically close to 1.9 kilograms. All metallic portions of the necklace have a dull gold finish and appear to be made of cheap metal. Permission for further testing of the metal's fittings, resistance to physical damage is pending approval, but existing test data shows that the fittings are more resilient than they appear. The clasp is of a standard barrel type. Attached to each side of the clasp is a round metal fitting. Most of the mass of the necklace is the body of a snake. The snake body is in constant motion, emitting from one of the round fittings and sinking into the other at approximately 1.2 centimeters a second. The rate of emission does not seem to vary as much as the length and mass. The rate of absorption alters to accommodate changes in length. Since the Foundation acquired the necklace in 1980-something, an estimated 12,000 kilometers of snake body has appeared from one end of the necklace and disappeared into the other. The snake body can be easily damaged by conventional means, but any flesh or fluids removed from the body will be drawn towards the sink fitting and eventually reabsorbed. This physical attraction is similar to magnetism, except that it does not increase in inverse proportion to distance from the fitting. Samples permanently lose their attraction if they are moved more than blank centimeters from the necklace and will not be reabsorbed even if brought into direct contact with the sink. Coloration, markings, and texture of the snake skin change over time. Herpetological analysis of the markings suggests that if the necklace were the body of a snake, the type of snake indicated would not remain the same. Various types of snake have been observed, but most often 533 appears to have the body of some type of constrictor. DNA testing of blood samples seems to support this hypothesis. Testing with disposable dudes indicates no adverse effects from wearing the necklace, although all test subjects express strong desire to remove the necklace as soon as possible. One such test subject had prior experience handling reptiles, but even he was uncomfortable handling 533. He reported that it felt wrong, even though the chemical analysis of skin samples shows no abnormalities. Addendum 1. 533 is not to be removed from containment except for testing. Specifically, it is not to be worn to social events, Foundation-sponsored or otherwise. Addendum 2. Considering the number of years we've had 533, it may seem unlikely that Procedure 1 will ever be needed. However, I must remind the incident response personnel in charge of 12B that if that procedure is ever required, then failure to execute it promptly and exactly could fill the building with snake blood within blank hours. Unless you like drowning in reptile blood, I suggest you stop deferring Procedure 1 in your drill rotation. Addendum 3. SCP Blank has, for reasons it has declined to share, stopped drinking all types of reptile blood. SCP Blank and SCP Blank are currently under consideration as stopgap replacements for SCP Blank in Procedure 1. Until the new procedure is finalized, drills are suspended, and I am to be paged if the measured mass of 533 changes by more than blank %. Alright. I guess what the thing they're hoping doesn't happen is if it breaks the glass, then they might have to deal with the blood of 12,000 kilometers worth of snake. And I guess one of the SCPs likes to drink reptile blood, but suddenly decided it didn't anymore. So next up is the misplaced blood. I wonder if it's the misplaced blood of that giant snake. Whatever it is, it's Euclid. So SCP-534 in the picture number 2 is left center, number 1 is surrounding. 20 times. It's Euclid. All instances of SCP-534-1, 2, and 3 are to be kept in a plastic-covered airtight containment chamber. Entrance to the containment chamber is to be conducted through a double airlock, the chamber of which is to be equipped with a high-grade disinfectant. With the exception of testing, all personnel entering 534's containment chamber are to wear Class 3 biohazard suits. Although the biological mechanisms behind their support are currently not fully understood, 534 appears to be a collection of several different human blood cells and cell fragments that have increased in size several hundred times. The components of 534 have been placed into 3 different classifications: 1. Erythrocytes, 2. Neutrophils, and 3. Thrombocytes. All samples of 534 appear to have the ability to survive while floating in the air and are affected by air currents. All concentrations of cells appear to match normal blood, with one comprising approximately 97% of 534. No instances of the SCP require nutrients. 1 acts in a manner typical of normal erythrocytes and averages 1.7 millimeters in width. It will absorb oxygen from the surrounding air. Upon coming into contact with living cells of another organism, one will actively diffuse oxygen into the organism. Due to its large size, oversaturation is common. Allowing one to enter or touch areas of living tissue may cause oxygen poisoning, resulting in death of the affected area. 1 appears to have an indefinite lifespan. 2 is typically 2.2 millimeters across and will perform phagocytosis upon any foreign organic material it comes into contact with. Air samples from 2's containment area have shown them to be 99.9% pathogen-free. Subjects entering areas containing large amounts of 2 will report an itchiness in their skin due to 2 destroying their epidermis. Continual exposure to 2 will result in subjects being eaten alive. 2 dies normally. The remaining mass is eaten by other instances of 2. 3 is 0.5 millimeters across. It will release normal proteins upon becoming disturbed, causing several instances of 1 to clot. Recorded sizes of clots have been up to 3 centimeters in length. Subjects who stay in an area with a large amount of 3 and 1 will become covered in clots within 1 hour. Inhaling 1 and 3 simultaneously is lethal. Like 1, 3 appears to have an indefinite lifespan. 534 was originally discovered by Foundation personnel in Prometheus Labs' biology sector, with notes indicating its creation as a replacement for all blood transfusions. Although 2 was multiplying rapidly, 1 and 3 are unable to reproduce and were in limited quantity. Currently, there is no way of reproducing 1 or 3, and personnel are advised to be careful in their handling. I think I have Prometheus Labs bookmarked to come back to, but it doesn't look like it, so I think I will. I think something else from Prometheus Labs was bookmarked. Let's check. Project Heimdall. Nope! Okay, so that's a new thing to cover in an SCP Saturday at some point. Let's shrink that back down. And that brings us to the Communicative Beaker. And it's Euclid. And it, seems to connect to SCP-2559 for some reason. We'll get there, though. We'll get there. SCP-535 is to be kept in a secure storage room at Site Blank. Standard positive action defenses, explosive, chemical, biological, and memetic, are to be in place at all times according to standard operating procedure. 535 itself is to be placed in its own containment unit, a soundproof lead-lined steel box of dimensions 444 and of thickness no less than 5 centimeters at all points. It is secured to a pedestal in its containment unit such that it is positioned in the center of the box. Century of the box. No memetic-based SCPs are to come into contact with it. No liquid is to come into contact with it except under controlled testing circumstances. There's missing a space there. To facilitate this, the containment unit should be sealed and contain backup dehumidification apparatus. 535 should not be handled directly except under controlled testing circumstances. If the need to handle 535 arises, it should only be performed by 1 personnel of level 3 clearance or higher, with no other individuals present in the immediate area and with mechanical apparatus to prevent being within 1 meter of it. 535 is not to come into contact with other anomalies associated with information transfer such as SCP-606, which we will get to in a couple of weeks. SCP-535 appears to be an ordinary 250ml borosilicate glass laboratory beaker. It was recovered from an abandoned storage facility in Blank, USA. Its origin has been traced to a glassware factory in Blank owned by the Blank Corporation. Save its manufacturer of 535, no evidence of any extranormal activity has been found in relation to said factory or corporation. All liquid touching the inner surface of 535 will immediately transform into a pale, translucent liquid of viscosity 1.511 cp, approximately the viscosity of mercury, from here on designated 535-1. Other forms of matter are not affected. Analysis of 1 has revealed that it is composed of approximately 36% water, however the remaining 64% encompasses 14 previously unknown substances. It is fit for human consumption, disregarding the non-chemical effects of 535, and produces no visible reactions. When 1 is poured out of 535, it comes into contact with a solid or liquid surface and instantaneously evaporates, leaving no discernible trace. When various forms of information storage or transmission come in within 1 meter of 1 will activate and change color depending on the nature of the source. The following colors have been observed: red, all digital media; orange, radio waves; yellow, sound waves; lime green, photographic film; blue, text and physical visual imagery. The precise hue of blue has been observed to change depending on the medium the text or images are transcribed on. Purple, magnetic tape; white, the human brain; and black, data expunged. Analysis of activated 1 shows it to be chemically identical to inactivated 1. 1 appears to absorb information from its surroundings. If activated, 1 is poured out of 535. It will subsequently transmit the data it has contained to whatever it lands on, if it is compatible in some way. For example, if activated 1 comes into contact with a computer and is then poured onto a different computer, the information from the first computer will be copied to the second. If activated 1 was poured onto any non-digital device in this way, there will be no effect. In both situations, 1 would evaporate and disappear. The amount of 1 utilized appears to have no effect, and multiple transmissions of data can be made by conserving the contents of 535. Pouring activated 1 on the device which initially activated it has no effect. The various forms of electromagnetic waves able to activate 1 will be retransmitted to the surroundings regardless of the object 1 is poured on. Physical text and images will be transcribed onto any solid surface in the areas where 1 is poured onto. Note that that text displayed on a digital screen is considered digital media rather than print. This is invariably in the same medium the text was originally written in. Any large collection of text is usually unreadable, as it is resized to fit inside the area in contact with 1, and only a relatively small amount of 1 is available at any one time due to 535's small size. When a living human comes in within range of 1 turns white. However, human memories and thoughts are not retransmitted with the same efficiency as other information. The effects of pouring active white 1 onto another person are highly unpredictable. In benign situations, the subject may acquire a minor factor memory. Far more common, however, is mental illness, including, but not limited to, schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, severe anxiety, or generalized hallucinations. Schizophasia is also a common effect. In the most extreme cases, coma followed by death may occur. So far, no pattern has been discerned as to the potential effects of active white 1. Further testing with caution is warranted. The mental contents of other beings do not affect 1, with the exception of data expunged, resulting in data expunged. Addendum. Dr. Blank has suggested using the replicative properties of 535 with regards to physical media to reproduce substances of value to the Foundation. This proposal has been approved by 052 and preliminary experimentation has been scheduled. So before we end off this episode, let's find out what schizophasia is, because I've never heard of that. And in the mental health field, schizophasia, or word salad, is language that is confused and often repetitious, symptomatic of various mental illnesses. It is usually associated with a manic presentation of bipolar, affective disorder, and other symptoms of serious mental illnesses such as psychosis, including schizophrenia. Huh. I did not know that word salad had an actual name. I felt like... Okay, cool. So, that about does it for this episode. In the next one, we're going to start with the physical law testing chamber and move up through the singing gramophone, the shadow spiders, the perfect distraction, and the Tenenbaums. More animals, basically. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. If this was episode 117 of Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.